Hello, I'm John Adams, editor of Digital Photo, and welcome to this video lesson which is all about changing background colours. Now, this colour change can be a fairly simple task in Photoshop, but there are times when it can seem a real nightmare too. This shot was sent in by reader Nigel Goddard. It's a shot of Nigel's cat Spencer, but rather than the blue backdrop, Nigel wanted something a bit more in keeping with the cat's colours. So he was after a rich brown colour. So this is the kind of thing we want to end up with, but what we need to do is find the most straightforward way there. Now, the standard way for doing this, if we go back to our original blue background, the standard way of doing this would be to use something like Select Colour Range. What that would involve is going up to Select, choosing Colour Range, and then we need to sample the particular colour we want to change. So we leave the eyedropper here set on Sampled Colours, that should do the trick, and what we need to do is click on this background part of it. That's the kind of thing. We've clicked on the background. You can see white is the selected area here in the dialog box, and the black area is the non-selected. So to get a bit more of this background in, we need to increase the fuzziness slider. So as we move that across, we get more and more white selected until we've got the whole thing. And that's roughly the principle involved in using Select Colour Range. We're just about there. Then we click OK, and we get marching ants around the background area. What we then do is pick our hue saturation palette, which we can get to by going to Control and U on the keyboard. And then we can change the background colour. Now, if you want a sort of a brown colour, we need to move hue to towards the red end of the scale. Something like that looks good. Around about the 160s in this example. Perhaps we bring saturation down a little bit to lessen the volume of colour. And lightness we can bring down just to darken it off slightly. So that's the kind of thing we do. Click OK. Get rid of the marching ants by hitting Control and D. But this is where the problem emerges. Because we've got a very delicate outline with this backlit fur down the left-hand side, we're going to have a problem. If I zoom in tight on that area, you can see that we've left traces of the blue background. These are really hard to separate from the fur, because they're all merged in together. It's actually part of the background, part of the fur. It's the way it's lit, and it's going to cause a real problem. If we look round, we've got this kind of blue halo around the poor Spencer here. And I think if we go around the ears as well, yep, there's still a blue line all the way around the outside. And this is going to be really tricky to separate. So how do we achieve separation of the background in these kind of situations? Well, let's go back to our original picture with the blue background and have a look. You'll find it on your disk. It's called cat.jpg. So open it up into the full version of Photoshop. This won't work in Elements because we're going to use a layer mask. So full version of Photoshop, and we'll have a look at how it's done. Okay, here we are with the cat image on screen. What we're first going to do is make sure our layers palette is visible. Now mine's just docked over to the side here, so I'm going to drag it onto the screen. If you can't see yours, hit F7 or go to Window and choose Layers. And with your Layers palette up on screen, what we need to do is make a copy of this background layer. Now you can drag the background layer over the Create a New Layer icon to do this, or a really quick way, just hit Control and J on the keyboard, and you get an instant copy called Layer 1. What we're going to do to this layer is change the hue and saturation of it to get that brown background we're after. So we hit Control and U to open up the hue saturation palette, and this is where we're going to change the colours. We're going to do what we did in that last example. We'll just slide the hue slider all the way across to get that sort of kind of orangey browny colour. Something like that looks okay, sort of high 160s. And then we're going to move the saturation a little way to the left to take some of the colour out, and we're going to back off lightness a touch as well to get a nice rich brown. That looks pretty good. So I've got values of 165, minus 26 and minus 13. Not absolutely critical, so it doesn't matter too much. But something around those values will be fine. Now we've got a blue cat, which isn't ideal, but don't worry about that. Just click OK, because we'll address the blueness of the cat in the next step. Now to do that, we're going to use a layer mask. So we click the layer mask icon just here, down at the bottom of the layers palette. Click that and you get a white rectangle that appears alongside the cat. Now if we paint black into this rectangle, we will get the layer from beneath to show through. We're painting a hole in the image effectively. So if we get ourselves a paintbrush, make sure black is set as a foreground colour, and then for the brush we're going to go for quite a large brush to start with, and we're going to make sure it's a hard edged brush. So we'll pick this one for now, 19, and then we're going to make the brush size bigger. So we've got a hard edge brush. We're going to crank opacity all the way up to 100, and then we're going to hit the square brackets key, the right square brackets key, to give us a fairly large brush of about 400. All we're going to do now is paint black through the image like so to get relatively close to the edge of the cat and just take out that middle section. You can see there the original colour is being restored from this layer underneath. So here's the layer mask, here's the bit where we're painting the hole effectively, and here's the image that's showing through that hole. So we're getting rid of the blueness of the cat just by clicking away with our hard edge brush. Okay, so the edges are going to be a bit of a problem. We can't get the right kind of accuracy using a large brush. So the next stage is really to zoom in nice and tight. We'll work on the ears first, and then use a much smaller brush to get in on that part. So we get our brush tool again, and now we hit the left square brackets key just to take down the brush size. Staying with a hard edge brush, we've gone down to about 90 pixels, and I'm just going to paint around the ears, a bit smaller still. Just left square brackets key, and I'm going to go as tight as I dare near the edge of the ears without going onto the background. If I go onto the background, we're going to get that blue back. If that happens, don't worry too much, because all you need to do is switch to white, because we're using a layer mask. Hit X to switch to white, and then you can paint that back in again. That's the wonderful thing with layer masks and why they're so versatile. There we go. Now we've got rid of that bit. Go back to black by hitting X, and we just need to get round the edge of the ears like so. So I'm not going to go over the edge, I'm just going to run right up to the edge. Whoops, that's gone wrong, but hit X and we can paint it back out. Then go back to black with another hit of X. Hold down the spacebar to scroll around the image, and we're just going to work our way around, taking in as much of the cat as we dare up to the edge using this layer mask. So we go all the way down this edge, and we know that this edge is going to be our problem because the blueness and the brownness of the background are kind of merged together, they're fused. So we're not going to be able to get a perfect result on this fur because the fur itself is blue from the original background. So let's get that through there. You can see that blue reflection coming through as well. We're going to need to work on that. And once we've gone around the image in this fashion, just getting as much of the original cat through as we dare without going over the edge, we're then going to do a bit of clever work using a special blending mode and another layer. So let me just finish up going around the edge of the cat. I'm going to go all the way around the edge, painting in as much of the cat as I can and leaving this blue fringe or blue tinge around the edge of the fur. So join me in just a couple of moments when I've done that, and we'll take up the next stage, which will involve that special blending mode. Okay, see you in a short while. Okay, I'm just finishing off. I've gone all the way around the cat as close to the edge as I dare. Just this last ear to do now. There we go. Oops, gone over the edge a touch there. Not to worry, we'll clean that up in a second. Around the ear, leaving as fine an edge as I can. There we go. That should do the trick. Just need to clean up that bit. Press X and then we'll get rid of that bit where I've gone over the edge. That's good. Just along the top of the head now. That's it. And if we put our layers palette back onto the screen, I just moved it out the way so I could see what I was doing. We're not far off. You can see there the layer mask, and if we come back to full screen, there's our cat. If we hold down Alt and click directly on the mask, we can see it. And that's quite handy, that view, because it shows us where we've gone wrong. And where we have gone wrong, we can just pick up the brush and just paint in to get rid of those particular areas. A little bit down here. There we go. We can make sure we've got a really nice mask built out of that black and white layer. Alt and click to go back. A little bit down there as well, so we'll just paint black into that area. And I think that's probably going to be enough work on our mask. Alt and click. There we go. Now we've got this blue tinge around the outside of the cat, so we haven't got a perfect job by any means. But here's where we're going to get a little bit clever, because we're going to create a new layer at the top of the stack. So click on the Create a New Layer icon, and what we're going to do is choose the Color Blending Mode. Click where it says Normal and choose Color, right down at the bottom of the list. Click on that, so we have the Color Blending Mode applied on this Layer 2 at the top of the Layers stack. Now, what we're going to do is just zoom in tight. We'll pick on the ears to start with, and we're going to sample a particular color from the image itself. So we get our brush. We're going to use a soft edge brush this time, so we change our brush type to a soft edge. Just pick on any of these, that'll do. 35 I've got there. It's a bit too large, so I'm just going to use a left square brackets key to take it down to around about 15 pixels. I'm now going to reduce the opacity of this brush up in the options bar to about sort of 20 or maybe 30%. I'll try 30 to start with. And then what I'm going to do is hold down the Alt key and sample this part of the ear. And that colour will be imported into the foreground colour swatch down here. That looks about right. I've got a low opacity, and because I'm in colour blending mode, I can now paint over that bit of the ear. And look at that, it blends in perfectly. I'm effectively neutralising the blue with another colour. But because I'm using the colour blending mode, I'm not affecting any of the detail in the image. I'm just changing the colour. So where I lay down this colour, I can get a really nice accurate blend. And so I go around the corner there, just around the top of the ear. What I'm going to do is pick a little bit of the actual background colour. So I hold down Alt and sample on the background colour, which will give us a darker brown, just to bring us round this corner and get a nice join. It's imperceptible, actually seamless there. And we can use that around the edge of the cat. Alt and click to get a different colour. It's a bit too dark, round about there. Now we can just paint away into these, slightly larger brush there, into these edges and get a really nice blend coming through. Alt and click there just to get that lighter colour. There, and that's just going to help us with the cat. Where we've got these kind of slightly blue tinge reflections coming through, we can paint over those as well to really get a nice join between the fur and the background and make it look pretty seamless. I'm just going to Alt and click. I'm sampling from different areas all the time just to get the best possible blend. And of course, if I sample and click on the background itself and paint on the background, you won't see a thing because it's the same colour. So that's handy. We can use that and just get the edges of these bits of fur to look really good and really blend in seamlessly. I'll use a slightly larger brush now, just going up with the right square brackets key. Got an 80 pixel brush, spacebar to scroll around, then we can just run down that part of the image. And this sort of bluey grey colour, if you can see inside here, I'm just going to go over that as well, because it adds a bit more warmth to the fur, because that's reflection we're seeing in some of the whiter coloured fur. We're seeing the reflection of the original blue background. So we're just kind of neutralising that effect by painting into it like so. There we go. And we go down here. That's a bit too warm now, so I'm just going to redo that section. Just hold down Alt and click on the background. There we go, and just take a little bit of that out. That's the kind of thing. Take a little bit of fur sample. That's good. And that just tones down what we've just done a touch. Now we're down to the feet. Alt and click, slightly smaller brush now. Use the background here, and we'll just paint in. Just get rid of that. Those blue toes that poor Spencer has at the moment. There we go, and we get the nice brown colour from the background going back into that area. That's looking very realistic and very accurate. Bit of this background, just sample from this area here. And we're just painting in all the time. So what we're seeing isn't the accurate depiction of how the cat would look, but we're making it look real. We're actually kind of inventing where we add the kind of the brown fur, and we're just making it look more realistic than it does at present. I'm going to drop down opacity slightly here because that's a bit too high. So I'm going to take it down to about 20%. Larger brush now, and just delicately sweep over this area just to add a hint of brownness to where the blue is. That's good. Now a smaller brush size to do the back feet there. And we're not far off now. We're nearly all the way around the cat. Slightly larger brush. We can just roughly paint into these areas to take out that blue tinge. Just going to hit the hand key there to bring us back up to full screen mode. And that's pretty good. The tail there, there's a hint of blueness throughout. So all I'm going to do is use the brush with a soft edge. I'm going to click on this part of the background and then take the opacity even lower, down to about sort of 15%, something around there. Then just sweep along to take out that blueness in the fur. That's just reflection from the background. You can see there that's coming through a treat. And that's all you need to do. Work around the image, little bit time consuming, but you'll get a perfect seamless result. And that's a great way to blend in a really awkward outline edge with a background if you've changed the background colour. And you can see there as we come back up to the top of the image, around this fine layer, all we need to do is Alt and click on that sort of area. Nice small brush. We've just got one area to finish off, and we just work around there. Take away the traces of blue around the edge. Alt and click on the background. Slightly smaller brush. A bit more brush opacity. Perhaps up to sort of mid-20s this time. And just around that edge. And the job's a good 'un. And there we go. If we come back to full screen mode, you can see there we've got a seamless result, a perfect finish. And what we've done is simply taken our original background. There's our original shot. We've changed the colour of the background, leaving a blue fringe around the cat. Then we've cleaned up that blue fringe manually using the colour blending mode and colours already within the image. And what we end up with is, of course, a perfect job. I'm really sorry, I didn't mean to say that out loud. Thanks for watching. See you next time.